Welcome back to lesson 8 of our algebra series. In this last lesson, we're going to deal with solving equations in 2 steps. Now, the equations that we're going to be dealing with are going to be involving addition and subtraction exclusively. But the knowledge that we have been gaining in 6 and 7 will be very, very important to this lesson that we have here. Now, here's an example of the types of equations that we're going to be dealing with. So 2x plus 2 equals 8. Those are the equations that we're going to be involved here. Now, my biggest advice to you is this one. Solve it in stages. Don't necessarily think of BEDMAS because the process for solving equations is slightly different, but we're still going to solve in stages, so 1 step per line. And the other 2 things that I kept emphasizing in 6 and 7, and that is using the inverse operation and isolating the variable. Those we don't forget. Now, here's the example from the previous slide. I brought it forward. 2x plus 2 equals 8. So just like we did before, we're going to, in this case, the first part is that we're going to deal with the addition. And if you remember, our goal is to still isolate the variable. We still want to take all the numbers and bring them over to the other side of the equal sign. We just have to do it in stages. And in this case, we're going to start off with the plus 2. Now, the inverse operation of the add 2 is minus 2, and you'll see that's what I have here. I've highlighted it, and I brought that minus 2 over to the other side. So now you have 8 minus 2. Now, the next step, you'll notice I did the crossing out and the calculation all together. So this is my next part. So I had the 2x, so I brought that down. I just knew that the adding 2 and subtract 2 equals 0, so I can actually drop that out completely, and I can solve 8 minus 2, which is 6. Now, this is an equation that you have seen before, and you do know how to deal with multiplication, okay? And so I guess in that sense, we're going to draw a little bit on unit 7 that we have here. So we're going to deal with the multiplication portion of it. And again, because we have the multiplying by 2, you know the inverse operation is the dividing by 2. So here I've showed you, I used the inverse operation and I crossed out just like we did from lesson 7. So again, divided by 2, and I'm isolating that variable. So I have x equals 6 divided by 2. And you know that 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now, the last line that we've been doing in lesson 6 and 7 is proof. Now, if you've gotten used to it and you want to put that into the equation as your own double check, by all means you can. If you want to do a quick mental check, you can do that as well. At this point, all that matters is that you've gone through and your final line has x equals 3. And in this case, with so many steps, you've got to make sure that you've gone vertical here, and the last line states very, very specifically what x equals. And you know, if I go back up to the beginning, we'll do a quick mental check, and that is 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 does indeed equal 8. So I know my variable is right. Okay, here's the last example that I'm going to be doing with you. You'll see as you get into it, the process is very, very simple, okay? It's nothing that you don't already know how to do. So 3x take away 2 equals 13. We're first going to deal with the subtraction portion of it. So you'll know that the opposite of subtract 2 is adding 2, and that's what I have here. So I brought the 3x down. I didn't drop it, but I did write that down. And just like I did before, I'm going to go in and solve it right away. So I brought my 3x down. I took my subtract 2 and add 2, because I know on this side it cancels each other out, so I can drop it completely. And I'm left with 13 plus 2, which I know equals 15. Now I have an equation here that I already know how to solve. So I'll go on to the next line. So the opposite of operation of multiplication is division. So I now have the divided by 3 on that side, and I have the divided 3 on the other side. And you'll notice I've also isolated the variable at the same time. So I'm left with x equals 15 divided by 3, and my final line does indeed equal 5. And like I said before, I have no proof line in it, but if you go back up to the top, you already know that 3 times 5 is 15 minus 2 does indeed 13. So if I were you, you can do some quick mental math. That way you know you're right. If you prefer to list down very specifically what the proof is, you can do that as well. So there you go. There's how to solve equations in 2 steps. Just remember, take it step by step. First deal with the adding and subtracting on this side, bring it over to the other, and then you deal with the other part just like we have been. So if you need to watch the video, go right ahead. If not, good luck, and we'll see you in your next series. Bye.